Hey guys, here to do another video on some VHS pickups that I accumulated over the past month. It's starting to feel like this is the only content that that I make long format videos for. I really got to get back to making some of the other stuff and doing longer videos on some of the arcades and different projects that I work on, and not just do this VHS stuff, although it is fun and I do enjoy it. That being said, over the past month, I've kind of been looking at my VHS collection, and I have so much now. I really want to start zeroing in on things that I feel like my collection wouldn't be complete without. Almost like a bucket list of VHS tapes for my collection. So I made up a list of tapes. It was maybe 50 tapes long, and I started going through and trying to check off some tapes from that list. So starting off, I actually found this at the thrift store. Now, Yogi Bear. I have Yo Yogi on VHS. I don't have any of the original Yogi Bear series or the couple iterations after it. So I found this Yogi Bear's All-Star Comedy Christmas Caper. Now, I was looking for Yogi Bear, so this is great, and I love holiday specials, and we're heading into Christmas right now anyway, so this kind of felt like the perfect pick for me. So really cool, happy to add it to my collection. Now, I love collecting Nickelodeon stuff, Nickelodeon VHS tapes, and I made my Nickelodeon shelf over there, and now that I have more room, I'm definitely starting to look for more Nickelodeon stuff again. So that being said, got this Fairly Odd Parents, Scary Odd Parents, kind of like a Halloween themed VHS tape. Really cool. I don't really remember this episode in particular. The Fairly Odd Parents, what was that, early 2000s, so we're starting to kind of tune out on the cartoons, but I would watch this every so often. I did really enjoy the show, but wasn't something I watched religiously. Really cool though, happy to add it to my collection. It's a fun series, and killer cover, I love how that looks. Now, this show is kind of interesting because Hanna-Barbera had produced Flintstone Kids, and then they ended Flintstone Kids to begin making A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, and then they had this show that I'm holding in development, and I think it was CBS. They said, hey, we're already airing Pup Named Scooby-Doo. We don't have the time slot for another cartoon. You can either do A Pup Named Scooby-Doo or do your new show. So they decided to put out this new show and kill A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, The Pirates of Dark Water, which I think that's such a big transition to go from A Pup Named Scooby-Doo to a show like this. But I think that's interesting. I have Flintstone Kids and A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, so I wanted to have this in my collection to kind of complete that story of that period in the time of Hanna-Barbera. Another interesting animated show, Back to the Future, the cartoon series. Oddly enough, I had a collection of the animated cells from the show. I had quite a few of them, and I think I've given them away over time, but I never actually had any physical copies, no DVDs or anything like that of the show in my collection, so I'm happy to finally have it represented. In the 90s, there were a bunch of comedians that got their own animated shows, Life with Louie, Bobby's World, a few different shows like that. This is the treatment Rodney Dangerfield got with Rover Dangerfield. Really cool. I never saw this, but I did see of it and hear about it, and I saw this and I was like, oh, that'll be really fun to have. This happens to be a screener copy, so makes it a little more special, something that wasn't released to the general public and would have just went out to video stores. Now, in the 90s, a ton of shows got this radical makeover things like, Extreme Ghostbusters. I think G.I. Joe Extreme was another series. A bunch of different shows. What was it, Spider-Man Ultimate or something like that, kind of within the same vein. A lot of classic IPs got this makeover to fit the attitude of the decade. And among those shows, we have The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, which I think he's a little bit older in this. Animation is a little more of the 90s, and just something really cool, something I always wanted to check out. And within that same type of genre, The New Adventures of He-Man. Now, He-Man isn't a series that I'm really all that familiar with. It was way before my time, and I never really played with the toys the same way that I did with G.I. Joe and Transformers, and I would sort those shows out when we'd go to the rental store and I'd rent them, and so I was familiar with the series, familiar with the toys. Never made that connection with He-Man, but I do have a few He-Man tapes, and I love collecting these little subgenres within my collection, so I wanted to have this represented for that period when everything became really radical, I guess, in the 90s, really extreme. Now, staying within that 90s era trend, we had a bunch of shows come out that tried to cash in on that Ninja Turtle craze with their own anthropomorphic animal shows. Probably the best show to do that was Street Sharks. This is a series that I actually really liked. I thought the toys were really cool at the time, and I had the whole series on DVD, but I never had it on VHS, and it felt like something that I needed to have. Actually picked up another tape too. These are really cool. They're like a little holographic almost, so really cool. And yeah, it's who doesn't love Street Sharks? Now, staying within that anthropomorphic craze, we also got Extreme Dinosaurs. This isn't a show that I ever really remember watching as a kid. I did have a friend who had some of the toys. I remember playing with them and, thinking they were pretty fun. So I have a little nostalgia, but, not something that I feel overly connected to. But I had to have it, and I think it'll be fun to go back and watch at least once and see what the series was about. So, Extreme Dinosaurs. So, I love collecting video game related media, particularly on VHS. If there's a video game that got a promotional VHS tape put out for it, or even a series and things like that, I love to have it for my collection. So, this is something that never knew got a series, and that's Virtua Fighter. I saw this listed on Facebook, and I was like, oh, interesting. I never knew that there was a Virtua Fighter series. I picked up 2 of them. Wanted to get it. I really like the arcade game. I didn't play it when I was a kid. I played it years later, but I did play the console games of it, and always really liked it. I don't really know, I guess, the lore behind Virtua Fighter, but, these are cool. Every so often, when I'm working on something, I'll throw on, like, Tekken or Fatal Fury, and just kind of, like, have it in the background while I'm, playing a game or working on something. So, this will be fun to, even if it's just background noise for me, I think it'll be really cool. Couple other video game tapes, Mega Man. Now, this has entered my collection a few times, and every time it comes in, I usually pass it on to someone, another friend who, would have more of a connection to Mega Man than I would. I played the NES games, and, I liked them. I never really watched the series, but I finally was like, you know what, I keep passing Mega Man on to other people. I finally just got to keep it for myself. So, got Mega Man, and it's gonna stay in the collection this time. And with that, also got Earthworm Jim. I love this character. I think the games are so much fun. He kind of, I like those, like, humorous mascots, kind of like in the same vein as the Tick. So really cool, and happy to have this for my collection. This is a series I don't really have much to say about, but Captain N, it's kind of cool. It's a fun series, Nintendo. So it'll be another thing that I'll just kind of probably throw on while I'm playing a game or something like that. I don't think I'll really of the age to be getting too invested in Captain N, but who knows, maybe it'll really suck me in and I'll become a fan for life. We got Kirby Right Back at Ya. This is I remember when it came out. I never really watched it. This would have been I think the early 2000s, so I was already getting a bit older to be watching cartoons. But I remember the Fox box. I remember when Fox Kids switched over to that. I actually have a DVD that they mailed out to a bunch of different households, and kind of had all these characters that were coming to the Fox box and tied together in this one segment, and it kind of promoted this overarching threat through all the different shows. And I think it was Cubics, Ninja Turtles, Funky Cops, maybe, a bunch of different Foxbox shows, tying them all together to come fight this one threat, Sonic. And I thought that was really cool. So I think I might start a little collection of Foxbox shows. I think that would be fun to collect for. Just a couple tapes left. We have the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. I actually had got Super Mario 3 a couple months ago. I think my sister-in-law had got it for me for my birthday. And I didn't have the Super Mario Bros. Show yet, so really excited to add that. And then finally, Donkey Kong, The Legend of the Crystal Coconut. Got that really early CGI animation. I've actually never watched this. I think this will be really fun to watch. Maybe I'll make a video about it. Just seems so wacky, that just the way that they're animated. So that'll be a fun one to go through and watch. So those are some of my bucket list VHS tapes that I picked up. I know some of them are a little wacky. It's probably not what most people would imagine when they say must have or must have VHS tapes before I die. But I like these weird 90s cartoons that kind of tell the story of the pop culture and media in that decade. And I think these things all kind of help paint that picture. So that's why I wanted them for my collection. But yeah, that's what I got. Hope you guys like it. Appreciate you all checking out the video, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.